All right, welcome to YIN. What I'd like us to focus on today is falling into that state of relaxation and really allowing the body, especially the tissues and the muscles, to really surrender. So that being said, hopefully you have all of the props that you will need to allow yourself to really sink into this state of relaxation and support. And we're going to get right into it with dragonfly. So maybe you grab a couple of blocks for this shape, or maybe you grab your bolster. But what this shape looks like is really a wide-legged forward fold. So I invite you to take your legs out pretty wide. And then a couple of ways we can get into this. If you're on a sticky mat, it might be really nice to take your bolster and have one end on the floor and then the other end just supporting the forehead. So as you start to come into the shape, and know that you can play around with the height of it if you'd like to fold a little deeper, or if that doesn't work for you, another option can be to have your blocks and again allow the forehead to find that place of support where you can really let yourself go and just sink into this state of relaxation and relaxing all of the body and the tissues. So play around with what props you would like to use for this shape. I invite you to, even if you're really flexible, just come into about 60 to 70% of your typical range of motion. So as you start to fold forward, round the spine, bring some awareness to the legs. If they feel really tight, can we soften, especially through the feet and through the ankles? Can you let the arms relax and the back relax as well? I chose for our sound today just a gentle sound bath with crystal bowls. So I invite you to, for today, allow that awareness to kind of settle on the music. And just notice if the mind wanders, just to lovingly guide it back to focusing on these gentle sounds and allowing that to really help you find that vagal tone of your nervous system, that relaxation aspect. So I'll be quiet for the next couple minutes as we stay, and I invite you just to enjoy the sounds of the music provided. here for about another minute, so take a couple more breaths. And then slowly start to peel yourself away from whatever prop you may be using. And then just set that off to the side for now. Take your hands behind you, and I invite you to bend your knees, place your feet flat onto the floor, and then just gently wiggle the hips by rocking your knees side to side. Just slowly release that there. Taking your time to come out of that shape. We're going to come into our next shape. So we're going to come into a butterfly pose. So bottom of the feet will be together. A couple things to note: if the hips are really tight or you feel like the knees are really high up, or maybe just you're really wanting to keep going into that more relaxing state and less engaged, I invite you to take your 2 yoga blocks and even just place them a little bit at an angle just to kind of catch and support the knees. So you're not having to use your hips to hold it in place, but again, allowing yourself to relax into the props. From there, you can just let your hands come to the floor and the chin come to the chest. Or if you have extra blocks or a bolster, you can place that closer towards the feet. And then again, allow the head to release onto whatever prop you may have available to you. So I'll give us about a minute to figure out how we would like to take the shape. So feel free to set yourself up, knowing there's no rush at all. And then again, we'll be here for a few minutes. And then I'm going to stay quiet so we can just allow the mind to focus on the sound bath that's being provided for us. Allow that vagal tone to start to settle in by finding that relaxation of your nervous system. And before you come completely into the shape, just notice if there's any tension in the body that you'd really like to soften. And try to let that go. Perhaps even closing your eyes and really trying to just focus on the sound. over halfway through on the shape. Just notice if the mind started to wander or to get busy. And you gently and lovingly bring it back to focusing on the sounds. Take a couple more breaths here. And slowly work your way back up and out of the shape, taking your time. Dismantling whatever prop setup you may have had. Again, taking the hands behind you, maybe just rocking the hips to come up and out of that shape. And we're going to come into a nice and easy restorative back bend. So for this one, I invite you to have your bolster, or if you're using like a big firm pillow or a couch cushion, as well as a blanket, so we can elevate the head a little bit more than the rest of the body. So go ahead and take one of your blankets and place it towards the back of your cushion. And if you don't have a cushion at home, no problem. Stack up several really thick, firm blankets. And then we're going to slowly turn away from the prop. Leave about maybe 6 inches of space between your tailbone and whatever prop you're using. And then slowly start to back bend over so the edge of your prop finds the bottom of your rib cage. And then reach back and grab that blanket and kind of fold it up and underneath the natural curve of your neck. So even though we're in this back bend shape, the head is still a little bit more elevated, so it can be a little bit more relaxing and a little less stretchy. The arms can come down by your side, or if it feels better to let them rest on the body somewhere. Again, make any adjustments that lets it feel really restorative and relaxing for you. And I'll give us a minute to kind of settle into our own personal shape. And then we'll be here for several minutes again, so I'll quiet down so we can again let that mind start to focus on the sound bath that's all around us. And as you settle in, take a moment again just to kind of scan the body. If there's anywhere that feels tension, stress, or tightness. Maybe the jaw or the hand, shoulders or chest. And we see if we can let that surrender and really melt into the props that you have. Take a couple more breaths here. Then I'm going to invite you just to gently roll off onto one side, come out of this shape. Taking your time just to come off that prop for a moment and lay onto your side, flat onto the floor. And gently press yourself up to have a seat. And we're going to set up for our next shape. For this one, it can be nice to have either a blanket or a block to put underneath the forehead. So I'll give you a minute to decide. We're actually going to be laying prone on the belly. You'll need a second blanket if you're using one for the head to be placed gently underneath the chest. So when you fold your blanket, you'll want maybe a half an inch to an inch thick of fabric, and then drape it across your mat, and that's where your chest is going to be supported. And then again, either a block or a blanket several inches in front of that where you can rest your forehead. We're going to come into a shoulder release. So when you lay onto your blanket, allow the chest and the abdomen to be supported on the blanket, but make sure that the arm, as it starts to come underneath, is free in between the two props that you have. So we're going to thread the right arm underneath the left. So to get set up, I invite you to extend the arm straight out in front of you. So you're kind of in this like hand supported back bend. Then take your right hand, gently thread it underneath the left, and start to lower your forehead onto your prop, whether that's your blanket or your block. And then extend your left arm straight out overhead. Make sure both arms and hands are relaxed. You're not pressing into the floor to lift up. But you can really allow yourself to just rest in gravity to apply that needed strength. So just like the other shapes, I'll give us a minute to kind of settle in, to find what feels the best in our bodies, and then we'll be here for a few minutes. Once you settle in, try to get rid of any tension. Maybe even the glutes are more engaged than you'd like them to be. Let that soften. And then bring that mental awareness to the sound bath.
Take a few more breaths here. And I'm going to invite you to place your left hand right outside the prop that's supporting your head. Press yourself up.
Very gently release that right arm out from underneath of you. Take any movement or stretches that might feel really nice before we transition to the other side. And whenever you're ready, there's absolutely no rush. Come back into that hand-supported little back bend. Keep your right hand firmly grounded as you thread the left arm underneath the right arm.
Slowly lower your forehead onto your prop. And then reach and extend your left arm out long. Your right arm out long above your head. Then make any micro adjustments that will allow you to stay in this shape for several minutes. Notice if there's any tension that might not be very inviting for very long. If you can let that go and soften and surrender. And again, bring that mental awareness and focus to the sounds of the crystal bowls and the chime. Take a few more breaths here. And take your time again to slowly just start to work your way out of that shape. And any little gentle movement that might feel really nice. And we're going to finish with some supine spinal twists. So I'll invite you to maybe keep the blanket across the mat, but maybe just scooch it down more so it's on underneath your hips rather than underneath your chest. And feel free to leave the blanket or the block as your pillow. Start by bringing yourself onto your right side body with your right arm straight out in front of you, with your left arm on top, and your knees kind of hugged up somewhere into your chest, maybe in line with the hips or in line with the belly. Anywhere that feels kind of comfortable, just in this side laying shape. And then from here, just slowly with a tactile touch, keeping the left arm heavy, start to drag your left arm or your left hand across your right arm, slowly across the left chest, and then all the way open to the left side of the room. You're in this pretty passive, easy spinal twist. And if something's not working for you, please make any adjustments that are really going to allow yourself to settle into the shape. And then find yourself where you can relax for a few minutes. And I like to keep my gaze upwards towards the sky. But if you'd like to let your head fall and look over to the left or towards the right, whatever feels the best for your cervical spine. Take a couple more breaths here. And then I invite you to leave the upper body as it is. Just start to walk your legs over to the other side, coming into your spinal twist on the other side. Make any adjustments if there's any tension or something uncomfortable in the back or the hips. And take a couple of breaths here. And then slowly just start to unravel the spine by rolling onto your back. And then set yourself up for your Shavasana however you'd like to be set up. Maybe you place the bolster underneath your knees to give your low back a little support. Maybe you have a blanket to warm you. But one thing I will invite you to do is to make sure you have a blanket or something, towel, rolled up underneath the cervical spine, underneath your neck. So you feel this natural plumb line from head to toe, or at least from head to hip if you have the legs elevated on a bolster. We can really allow the neck and the head to relax, which is one of those key elements to finding that restful state. Once you find your comfortable final relaxation pose, settle in for a couple of minutes. Again, allow that awareness to come back to the sound bath. And from here, slowly start to deepen your breath. If this is the end of your time that you need and you'd like to stay here and keep resting, or if you're near your bed and you just want to crawl in and go to sleep. But if you do need to move on with your day, slowly start to wiggle the fingers and toes. And then gently work onto your side body. And press yourself up into a seated shape. Thank you so much for joining me for this relaxation yin. I hope that you had a wonderful and relaxing time. And until next time, be well.